Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Another edition of Working for You. This weekly radio program with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis have the opportunity to interact with their government. The Team Unity government is for the people and by the people. I am Jamiela McPhail, sitting in for Roy Williams, who is on assignment. Today, we are honored to have the Minister of Justice, Legal Affairs and Communications, the Honorable Attorney General, Vincent Byron. Good afternoon, Mr. Byron. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Jamie, and thank you very much for having me. And I must say good afternoon to all those in Radio Land and those who will be listening in wherever they are in the diaspora by stream. I think this is being streamed. And we welcome the opportunity to be able to speak to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis about what our goals are, what we hope to achieve within the framework of our government of national unity, and to report on what we have accomplished in the 9 or so months that we have actually been in office. It has been a very exciting time. We feel very heartened by what we have achieved. I think we have been working exceedingly hard, and we know that we have touched the lives of many people. And we hope that that ultimately will be what we expect to accomplish. That, and as your program so aptly says, we are working for you. Yes, thank you for having me this afternoon.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you. And before we get started, as I did last week, I want to issue congratulations again.
Yes.
Congratulations to the Team Unity government on the great news of the poll conducted by well-renowned pollster, Mr. Don Anderson, which shows that the Prime Minister Harris-led Team Unity government has the overwhelming support of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. In fact, those poll results indicates that over 2/3 of the people in St. Kitts and Nevis support the government of national unity. So congratulations.
Thank you very much for that. And really, I think the people who have shown confidence and believe in what we have done, that needs to be congratulated, and we thank them that they recognize that we have been working very hard on their behalf, and that they have shown agreement with what we have been accomplishing. We pledge to continue to work even harder and to accomplish even more on behalf of the people. And I think this afternoon I can share a little bit of what we have been doing under the various portfolios that I have conducted, and I hope that we can have a good afternoon in terms of laying out what has been done, what we have in store for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis as we go forward. And again, thank you again, because the poll results really speak to what we would want for St. Kitts and Nevis. You recall, Jamie, that the Team Unity has had a long period in which we came together and we put together, as it was, a movement of people in St. Kitts that needed something different from what had pertained prior to that. I for one, can point to December 2012 as the birth, the initial start of this movement as we came together. Some will point earlier to the fallout that happened after the land for debt swap in 2012, September. But in December of 2012, the members of the opposition at the time, there were 5 of us on the opposition benches, filed a motion of no confidence with the clerk of the National Assembly, December 2012. And then ensued a program, a campaign for 26 months that more or less fashioned the philosophical basis, the ethos of what team unity really meant, what it really means, and what guides us, the principles that guides us as we go forward. And it came out of the fact that the government of the day, the Douglas administration, had failed the people in terms of upholding the Constitution. And there were a number of constitutional battles, a number of battles that we took to the court. We didn't take to the streets. We did what is expected of a responsible opposition, what is expected of a responsible group of men and women who want to deliver for our country something that is better than what went before. We railed against not just the motion of no confidence. We went against the senator's bill that tried to circumvent the Constitution that was struck down in the courts. And of course, the long protracted struggle to maintain that we did not have any sort of boundary changes that were unconstitutional, that did not work for the betterment of justice in this country. And so our campaign was based on a very simple mantra: restoring democracy and a prosperity agenda for the people. And what do those two things basically mean? Restoring a democracy meant that a government of national unity will be working to establish good governance in this country. Good governance. And so, for us, a good governance agenda means that we structuring some very fundamental laws in this country, changing them, and introducing them over the term of our office. And I'm happy to say that already we have begun to lay out that good governance agenda as has been set out in our manifesto. We have had the introduction of freedom of information legislation and the companion bill that goes with it, protection of information, the privacy bill. We have introduced a bill for term limits of the Prime Minister, and we will soon be also revisiting the whole question of integrity in public life. And so those will be the initial bills that will give, as it was, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis the foundation, the fundamental basis by which those who are in public life, those who hold public office, can be accountable to the people at every day, not just in terms of a general election poll, not just at a general election time, but these bills that have been tabled in the House have had a first reading. We are now circulating to the general public. We expect to have a program of consultation that people understand fully what they entail, what they mean, and so that we can have, as it was, the general public engaged and understand what we want to do. So good governance is going to be a primary function in terms of the laws. It also will mean things, well, a very important factor, that we will look at the Constitution and we will be embarking on constitutional reform that would have at the center of that electoral reform, the changing of the various electoral processes that we do, and so forth. The second limb of the team unity agenda was the question of a prosperity agenda for all, fair share, fresh start for people, young people, middle-aged people, that we can have a country in which that we create a level playing field for people to embark and follow their own self-interests, to be able to make a proper living for themselves and their children, that there's hope, there's expectation, there are opportunities in all spheres of life for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And this we will be doing through various legislation, through various government programs. But it is for the people to be able to explore what is available to them in the country of their birth. And we are very excited about the opportunities that we look forward to be able to roll out for individuals. There's one other thing I'd want to mention that I think is reflective in the poll, and that has to do with the basic, I don't want to say philosophy, but ethos in which we have been conducting the government of this country over the last 9 months. And it has really to do with, I could remember during the campaign, Prime Minister Harris using the term, we are taking the high road, and where we expect that every citizen of this country, regardless of what political background you come from, whatever party affiliation, that should have an equal opportunity in our country. I know there are a number of supporters of unity who would like to see a different approach, and there are those who feel that many people in the Labour had it all their way. But for us, and I've been on record before on the radio to say that we have members in our unity government who come from different backgrounds. Those who have supported Labour, those who have supported the People's Action Movement and the CCM, and that with the various members from different backgrounds, each should be protecting their supporters. So if you're a Labour, the idea is that they would not be in any way disadvantaged because there is no longer a Labour administration. Similarly, those who are PAM should have opportunities that they never had before. And it would be one in which we expect, regardless of your political affiliation, to be able to benefit from our government of national unity. It's about unity. All of us in the thing together. And if we work together as a team, as a people, I think the country will go from strength to strength. And so it's a very exciting time for the country, for all of us, as we work to make St. Kitts the best place to live, to work, to have fun and play. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, Minister, it has become a tradition for this program to ask each minister, including the Prime Minister, how have the first 9 months, as you said, been in office for them. So this afternoon I ask you, how have these months been for you, and what has been your focus during this period?
Boy, it has been an exciting time, I must tell you. It has been exceptionally hard work. I think no one can really understand the sort of hours and the sort of work that a minister of government would normally have to do. I have a number of portfolios in which maybe it might be best for me to explain what I cover and what we do, and then maybe we can then go on to say certain special projects that we have.
Yes.
As Attorney General, my responsibility is to give advice to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. I have chambers, a number of lawyers who work with me and who would advise me to advise the government, and we have consultation among the lawyers. and I have access to other council as well. So it's very important to understand that when I say advice to the government, whether you are Public Works or the Ministry of Health or in any department of government, the Attorney General's chambers gets every day a lot of requests for advice, for what to explain the law and that type of stuff. So we do a lot of work, writing opinions on various matters. We look at contracts and agreements that various ministries may have with contractors, providers of services to the government. We vet these things. So there is a whole body of work that is done at the Attorney General's chambers. We also, as Attorney General, I am the official person who is sued when somebody needs to sue the government, and so on. So the office that's happened. And similarly, when the government needs to sue somebody, the Attorney General will sue. The Office of the Attorney General does that suit. So we are responsible for litigation in the court in defending the government in constitutional civil matters and so on. I should also point out that there is a particular department that falls under my purview, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP, who has responsibility, constitutional responsibility, for taking criminal action against anybody. So that if, for instance, there is a suit against somebody for a crime, it is the DPP who will determine whether there is criminal action to be had, and he has the constitutional responsibility for doing so. The Attorney General cannot advise him, cannot instruct him. It is left to him constitutionally for me not to interfere in the work that he does. And so that also, but the Office of the Attorney General would have some administrative responsibility in terms of staffing and those type of things to be able to support the work of the DPP. I'm also, and of course, at some point I'll come back later and talk about some of what has happened this year in relation to the DPP's office.
Yes, yes.
I'm also Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, and that portfolio gives me responsibility for the administrative support to our courts, so that the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, that's here, a separate branch of government, yes, but in terms of the administrative support, again, staffing, financing of stuff, and the operations of the court, we would have responsibility for that in my ministry, as well as the magistrates court. That the conduct of these things is very important, that we keep the courts running. It's a very critical aspect of our government, of the society, that the courts function properly, so that we have that responsibility. The question of titles and deeds and so forth that the court office does, those all have to be dealt with properly for us to have a proper functioning society. In addition to that, as Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, we are responsible for the Office of Intellectual Property. It's an area where we see is going to be growing, and one we would want to place some focus on, because intellectual property, for the most part, has been focusing on the filing of trademarks. People have different products that come in, and so you need to get a license and you file these trademarks from products from all the world. But intellectual property also has to do with the production of works, intellectual property, whether it be in songs, music, literature, books, and so on. But the registering of these to protect, as it was, the work that is done. And it's an area that we feel should be a growth area for our young people and those who use their talents to create music and do so. And that we can find ways in which they can benefit to make a livelihood, profitable livelihood, from having this Office of Intellectual Property. So that's also one of my responsibilities. There's the Office of the Ombudsman, which has a certain independence to it, that acts as an office where people can have complaints against government departments to be dealt with. And we also have, at this point in time, for the first time, the Office of Elections, the Electoral Office, now comes under the Office of the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs. I have one other portfolio, and that is communications. Communications here has more to do with the concern of information and computer technology. As well, I should point out, the regulatory body, the NTRC, the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, also has responsibility. I have responsibility for that as a minister, to implement the regulations that are done by the NTRC. We have under the Ministry of Communication the Department of Technology, which we are in the process of rebranding and renaming and reorganizing the Office of Information and Computer Technology as we go forward. And that for me is perhaps a very, very exciting field that we would also want to speak about. I should mention in passing as well that under that we would have responsibility as minister for the statute, well, the private company which the government has a majority shareholder in the cable communications would fall under the ministerial support. So there are a number of areas that we have had, and during this 9 months we have taken time to understand what we have to do in each of these. We have got to know the staff, got to know the issues that are confronting them. There are a number of things that needed to be done to set a roadmap going forward. Some things need to be improved on. Some things had fallen off the thing, and we need to get them back on track. And it has been an exciting time trying to understand and to map the way forward. And we have done quite a bit, and we are doing quite a bit. And of course, we'll talk about them as we go forward. But it has been a great 9 months, exciting, a lot of hard work, sleepless nights, but enjoyable nonetheless.